Hello, Cohort 9. I hope you're having a wonderful Friday, getting ready to have a wonderful weekend. And in academia, we tend to always have the next project on hands, and I'm sure you do with the PhD program, which definitely is engaging. Okay, so for today, I want to cover some more things about the mini research project. So bear with me. I will try to give you some views of things that are not my face, not me, and so that you can see what's a little other things in the world. What is also true is I'm not driving, so the scenery that we pick will be static. Anyway, so here we are. I will cover 8 points with this, and I will try to do it in a way that's engaging so you can listen and then continue on with your projects. This video should be helpful, these 8 points, to those of you who have your research project a little bit further along and those of you still working to say what you're thinking about. Okay, point number 1. I have read and commented on the 5 research projects that have been submitted, and I know that it can be challenging to put all this together. Please read my comments on these 5. That's the way Moodle or an online-based learning can work better, is if in fact you do read what has been written about other people's work, the comments, and then you look at their work. The second thing is, please look at the resources before submitting your project proposal. You are actually applying a lot of what we went over last semester and what's happening this semester. So in Bloom's taxonomy, you've gone from understanding definitions to being able to evaluate things, some of the critical thinking stuff, and now we're into application. This means really please look at how to design a question. And one of the things that I asked you to specifically do that are missing in some is talk about what kind of question that you have. What is that big top category? For I use, and this resource here uses about 6, pick anything in that 6, but describe your question. Is it a question about, is it an exploratory question? Is it a experimental design question? Is it a quasi-experimental design question? Is it some kind of discovery question? So take a look at that and figure out where you seem to be in there. And we'll talk more about funneling that research down from the major big design piece down to the methods. The checklist for planning research is important. Please look at all 35 of those pieces and be sure they are in your proposal. Choosing a research project reinforces what's in the other 2 pieces. In planning this research project, some of you will need an IRB, some of you will not. Many of you are kind of bordering on secondary research. Okay? This is my 3rd point now. You are being asked to complete a slice of primary research, application. Doing a literature review and finding out what's out there, and even sometimes, not always, but sometimes comparing what is out there, is secondary research. Now, this slice of primary research that you're being asked to do can be a pilot project, and sometimes when you do cognitive interviewing about your questions, that can be a slice of primary research for you to sort of being a pilot project too. So that difference between primary and secondary research is important, and you are being asked to do a slice of primary research. And you can be pretty broad with exactly what you're doing with that. Okay, that's point number 4. That some of you are wanting to do a little more of a lit review. In with point number 4 is, golly jeepers, you can use that lit review for part of your annotated bibliography, part of the lit review you are doing this semester, because many of you are trying to marry this primary research project, that little slice you're doing, with something that will help you later in your bigger research. That can work fine. Point number 5. If you have any survey questions at all, please be sure that you have done your cognitive interviewing about them. Please be sure you have done that, and talk about that in your research project for any survey questions that you have. And understanding the process of cognitive interviewing and of piloting a survey is a very important piece in your graduate work for research methods. Okay, that's number 5. Number 6. Some of you have talked about doing a hypothesis, like here's my hypothesis. Hypothesis can be used in 2 ways. One is just a general, hey, I have a hunch about this, I have a hypothesis about this. And the other is when you get into research, a hypothesis is more a piece of experimental design. So I have a hypothesis and I'm testing a hypothesis. Most of you are doing exploratory research, descriptive research. While you have a hunch of what it might be, it's not a hypothesis that you're creating an experimental design to test. So I encourage you to not use that word to talk about, like, I think this is what might be happening. Okay, and along with hypothesis is the word random. Because I'm on a Friday and I'm talking in my house with this video, I am going to randomly walk and let in the cat who's knocking at the back door. So, as we walk there, you notice that I've used the word random. I'm randomly going to walk there, but that doesn't mean I have a random sample population or I'm using random design. Some of you have said, well, my design in terms of the population is going to be random, and there is that cat, because what I'm doing is just taking whoever comes, whoever I find, or the people that I know already. That is not, in a research way, the definition of random. Random, so look that up, and we can talk about that more, but I want you to understand that for the population that you're going to be talking to, if you are doing a random design, which again is usually most often in experimental design research, that has a lot of particular implications in it. So most of you are not doing a random sampling. In fact, nobody so far is. Okay, that was number 6. Number 7, for those of you who are doing research, looking at populations of people and having a survey, sometimes you talk about the gender, and you say, I'm asking people their gender. As a group, please, somebody start a conversation on how you can ask about gender, and even in a very simple survey to young kids. It used to be we'd ask the sex, because we were talking about the biological sex of the person. Are you a female or a male? Now, I guess the word sex was like, oh, okay, let's not use that. So now people use the word gender. So are you, and usually it means cisgender, S-I-S or S-I-C, cisgender. Like, I am biologically a female and I am gendered female. So that's the way it usually is. However, in the thought of being inclusive, when we're doing surveys to populations where we don't know how they self-identify, and we know even in brain research there's probably at least 5 genders, and there may be no genders. Gender, to a certain extent, is a social construct. How can we ask about gender and think that we are part of a college atmosphere of social justice where we don't want to imply that there's a duality in genders. You either female or male, or gendered woman or man, and that you leave open the possibility for many more things. So please someone start a discussion about that. And how can you put this in surveys? What do you see in surveys that's innovative so that we can be part of that innovation? And number 8, finally, is communicate with me. Some of you do a very good job of communicating with me. I've Skyped with you. If you email me and I do not respond within a day or two, and 2 days is usually average about getting through the emails and making sure I get back to you, email me again. Because if it happened to get buried, and you know, we all get a great deal of emails, if it happened to get buried and I don't get back to you, the worst thing is if you grumble about that or get mad about that, but don't bother telling me. So please, I do believe I've responded to everybody who I've seen, and I respond for the mini research project. It's right on the top of all of our piles right now. And I encourage you, I have been fine letting the deadline go a little bit. I encourage you to really focus on that. And part of that focus is let me know what you need from me so that you can be able to turn that in. And again, part of that is go back to the research and praxis part in modes and read about the resources and make sure you're following some of those. They're not exactly rubrics, and I don't want to do a research paint by numbers by design, but following that protocol of how to design a question. Do you have the checklist for planning a research project? Have you gone through that, and do you have all those covered in your proposal? And then choosing a research project, looking at that. All right, be in touch. Know that I care very much about your projects. There's a lot of great things going on out there, and I look forward to hearing from everybody. Bye-bye.